In this session, we will be concentrating on the life and work of the renowned Hindi/Urdu filmmaker Syed Akhtar Mirza, who may be said to be the astute chronicler of urban decay. Mirza was born in 1943. He is extremely well-read, flamboyant in the way he expresses himself, whether in the way he talks with people or the style in which he expresses his thoughts and his aspirations in his films. He is not only exceedingly well-read, but also deeply thoughtful about issues like class, minority communities, and the decline of his beloved Bombay city. He went to a good school and later a leading college. His father, Farhat Akhtar Mirza, was a poet and a dreamer who held strong socialist convictions. He was employed in the Bombay film industry. There were times when he had no work, and it was his mother's visionary efforts which were able to put decent meals on the table. It was a life of struggle, but also, in its own way, a life of delights. Because anything earned through struggle, honest, hard struggle, is delightful. When you see the films of Syed Akhtar Mirza, all these things are there. You just have to look beyond the visual image. He's extremely argumentative. He used to debate a lot in school and college and picked up the skills of repartee even as a student. These were later honed, these later improved during his stay at the Pune Film Institute, where he had the redoubtable Ritik Ghatak as his teacher and mentor. One anecdote here, which Syed Mirza is given to telling people, relates to Ghatak. At the institute, it is said that Ghatak would often tell his admiring students that to be a good filmmaker, you have to carry a bottle of alcohol in one pocket and your childhood in the other. Where John Abraham, the maker of that great Malayalam film Amma Aryan, took the master's prescription literally and caused explosive reactions, both for himself and modern Malayalam cinema, Saeed Mirza and the other important student who later on became a very important filmmaker in Odia, Nirod Mohapatro, they were satisfied with treating that prescription more as a deep and useful metaphor. If one takes the trouble of reading closely Saeed Akhtar Mirza's very finely written autobiography, Ammi, Letter to a Democratic Mother, one would easily discern how well he remembers his childhood. The struggles of childhood and youth made a deep impression on the cultured and sensitive mind of the director-to-be. Reading that autobiography, you not only get to know Saeed's parents and his siblings and his neighbors and his friends, but you also get to know the family. So his preoccupation with the concept of the working class family and the middle class family in particular, this can be traced back to the kind of family life the Mirzas had. In the heart of a Bombay, which was, when Mirza was growing up, a center of working class activity, and at the same time also a site of upper class refinement. The working class activities centered mostly around the what is called sacha, the loom, meaning the textile factories of Bombay, which are now all lost. Or it grew around the docks and the port of Bombay, or the railways. They are there, but in a much diminished form than they were when Mirza was growing up. You'll see reflections of all this in the way Mirza's characters talk to each other, how they behave, class differences, class consciousness, class structures, class conflicts, all come to the fore in a Mirza film.
अरे बाबा, इन लोग हार पहने बगैर दुबई जाएंगे तो उधर लोग क्या सोचेंगे कि नुक्कड़ पे इन लोग का कोई दोस्ती नहीं। ऐसे या तो ये लड़की चोर है ना वो लड़का गुंडा। माफ करना भाई साहब, आपको थोड़ी देर इंतजार करना पड़ा, मगर मैं मास्टर साहब को तैयार करके लाया।
ये भूला है, नहीं चलेगा। हमको तो जवान आदमी मांगता है, जिसकी छाती में दम हो।
जुबान संभाल के बात कर, अपना नुक्कड़ में ऐसा बात नहीं बोलने का। तेरे को मैं सिर्फ 2 मिनट देता हूँ, यहाँ से फुट। तेरे बोले के लिए गरम हो जा। सच्ची बोलो, बात समझ।
माना अपनी जेब से फकीर है, फिर भी यारो दिल के हम अमीर हैं।
जा जा जा।
माना अपनी जेब से फकीर है,
पम पम,
फिर भी यारो दिल के हम अमीर हैं।
जा जा जा।
मर के भी किसी को याद आएंगे, किसी के आंसुओं में मुस्कुराएंगे, किसी को हो ना हो हमें तो एतबार।
An unrepentant leftist, Saeed Akhtar Mirza lays great store by the question of class. His first film, Arvind Desai Ki Ajeeb Dastaan, The Strange Story of Arvind Desai, made in 1978, takes us into the life of an upper-class urban youth who earns a lot of filthy lucre as the only son of the owner of an emporium in Bombay, which sells carpets, objects d'art, and a whole lot of other things to foreign tourists. Arvind Desai has read the books. He has the ideas. Perhaps he even harbors an occasional good intention. But ultimately, he is emotionally barren. He is politically immature. He is sterile. He is of no social value to anyone, perhaps not even to himself. And when Arvind Desai wants to kill himself, even that he cannot do properly. Arvind Desai is frozen and static, to quote Mirza. And if you ask me, he reminds one of a certain Sergio in the Cuban master Tomas Alia's Memories of Underdevelopment, a great film of polemical, philosophical, and political importance. Though the two films are entirely different, the social conditions depicted in Arvind Desai and in Underdevelopment couldn't be more dissimilar. What unites the two films is the protagonists, the respective protagonists' inability to take responsibility for their actions. The fascist mindset of the middle class always comes to the fore when it feels that its economic interests are going to be affected, jeopardized. The middle class will talk a lot about rebellion, even of revolution, about changes, but it will always make sure that its own interests are not thereby affected in any way.
तुम मेरे बारे में क्या सोचती हो?
तुम मुझे अच्छे लगते हो।
मान लो कल कोई तुम्हें मुझसे ज्यादा पैसे देगा, तो क्या तुम उसके साथ भी ऐसा रिश्ता शुरू कर दोगी? या तो आप दूसरा ग्राहक ढूंढिए या दूसरे मजदूर। रात को कैसा लगता है? रात को जब एक तरह का अकेलापन अंदर से पकड़ लेता है, नोचने लगता है।
कैसा अकेलापन?
कोठी में धान भरा हुआ होता है और देखभाल ना हो तो चूहे लग जाएंगे, ठीक है ना? तो दुकान में समझो यही हो रहा है।
फालतू बात मत करो। तुम गड़बड़ की है या नहीं?
दिन दहाड़े खून करना पड़ता है, गला घोटना पड़ता है, तब जाके उसके कुछ पैसे मिलते हैं।
तुम मेरी प्रॉब्लम जानना चाहते हो? एक ऐसी दुनिया में रहना जहां मेरे सोचने और करने में बहुत फर्क है।
ब्लाइंड स्कूल जाती हूँ, गंदी बस्तियों के सुधार करती हूँ, क्लब वब सब बंद। अगर तुम्हें मेरी कंपनी पसंद नहीं है तो मैं चले जाती हूँ।
तुम समझती हो तुम्हारे चले जाने के बाद अरविंद देसाई सड़कों पर तुम्हारा नाम लेके मारा मारा फिरेगा?
What does Mirza say about Arvind Desai? And I quote him. The film was an attempt at understanding the urban middle class who are exposed to ideas but reject them when it comes to the crunch, especially economic. The hypocrisies and the cruelties that the middle class is capable of. This is what Mirza is talking about in this film. Arvind Desai was followed by Albert Pinto ko gussa kyun aata hai? What makes Albert Pinto angry? 1980, which caused a storm of critical interest when people first got to see it. Who is Albert Pinto? Albert Pinto is a flashy garage mechanic who, living in a fool's paradise, thinks that he is the equal of one Mr. Braganza who brings his big shining car to be overhauled at the garage where Albert Pinto works. He thinks we belong to the same Roman Catholic community. Culturally and religion-wise, we are the same. But in one swift shot, Mirza makes a class statement, a classic class statement. When Mr. Braganza is shown giving his car keys to the lowly mechanic, ensuring that their fingers don't touch. That single shot speaks volumes about class relationships. And for his follies, Albert Pinto is called an idiot by his sister, who is much more intelligent, much more perceptive than he. She works as a sales girl in a sari emporium. She is lame and she understands the world much more.
चलती भी है, हर एक गाड़ी भी है, उसकी भी, हमारी भी है।
काश ये गाड़ी अपनी होती, बच्चे होते, पत्नी होती।
काश ये गाड़ी अपनी होती, बच्चे होते, पत्नी होती। मेरी तो कोई बात नहीं पर उनकी रात तो अपनी होती।
अबे रोता क्या है? चला कुल्हाड़ी।
5 लाख की गाड़ी देखो,
5 लाख की गाड़ी है, 5 लाख की गाड़ी देखो, 5 लाख की गाड़ी है।
As a vocal ideologue of cinema, Mirza has since his very first films made known his partisanship. From Albert Pinto, we move to Mirza's third film, Mohan Joshi Hazir Ho. Mohan Joshi is an old pensioner who lives in an ancient Bombay shawl with his wife, and there are pressures on all sides, building sharks, lawyers, and helpless / opportunistic fellow tenants. But Mohan Joshi is a man of conscience and he is a man of dignity. He wants to do the right thing. And what his convictions cause to this old man, the kind of difficulties, this is what this film is about.
रोहिणी,
हाँ
रोहिणी,
क्या हुआ?
वो पाइप फिर फट गया है।
हे राम, आप भीगे तो नहीं?
नहीं, बच गया हूँ। ये रोज का रोना है, कभी कुछ कभी कुछ। कल जीना टूट गया था, आज पाइप फट गया है। परेशान हो गए। कुछ तो करना ही होगा।
साला बुड्ढा जोशी
ऐसे
सुबह सुबह चालू हो गया।
ये क्या नई बात है क्या? हर रोज का नाटक है।
कमाल है भाई, कमाल है। मुझे नहीं मालूम था देसाई इतना उल्लू है।
अरे अंकल जी, कुंदन कपाड़िया आपका घर खाली इसलिए करवाना चाहता है ताकि शादी के बाद उसकी बेटी उसमें आकर रहे। अरे ये तो फालतू कैसे क्यों मलकानी साहब है?
नहीं, अगर वो सचमुच केस जीत गया तो हम तो फुटपाथ पे आ जाएंगे ना।
अरे सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता। इस केस में जरा भी दम नहीं है। कोई भी मैजिस्ट्रेट इसे रद्दी की टोकरी में फेंक देगा।
ठीक बात, मैं आपको पहले ही बोला था, घबराने का नहीं।
तो आप सोचते हैं इसमें परेशानी की कोई बात नहीं?
बिल्कुल नहीं। जैसे ही मरम्मत के केस का फैसला होगा, वो इस केस को ठंडा कर देंगे।
From Mohan Joshi, we go to Salim Langre Pe Mat Ro. Who is Salim and why shouldn't one weep over him? Salim Langre is a small-time crook. He's a small part of Bombay's underbelly of violence and crime. He tries to reform, and therein he signs his own death warrant. He tries to unlearn the lawlessness of the Bombay underworld and thereby brings death on himself.
अपनी गली में कुत्ता तो आवाज करेगा ही ना।
अबे लंगड़े सुम से निकल ले यहाँ से, वरना दूसरी भी जाएगी, समझा ना? चल।
निकल जा इधर से, नहीं तो काट के फेंक देगा मैं तेरे को।
ये शाड़े?
इस शहर में गुंडा और बदमाश बन जाना बाएं हाथ का खेल है। चुटकी बजाते ही गुनाहों की दुनिया के दरवाजे खुल जाते हैं यूं। मुश्किल तो शराफत और इज्जत की जिंदगी जीने में है।
अरे जब एक टाइम लंबा हाथ मारेगा ना, अपन का जिंदगी भी एकदम चेंज। क्या इब्राहिम भाई के माफिक
गिर गई राम रे माथे
तेरी ममता।
तुम्हें अच्छा नहीं लगता तो क्या हुआ? मेरे लिए तो वो काम है।
तू स्कूल का ही क्यों नहीं गया रे?
गया ना, दूसरी चौकी तक गया।
उसके बाद
तेरी स्कूल में तो भर्ती।
From Salim Langre to Nasim, following the demolition of Babri Masjid, it was a quantum leap for Sayyid Akhtar Mirza in stylistic expression, where memories of a more amiable past rub shoulders with a present fraught with indignation, tension, and animosity. An entire community has been demonized and wronged. The film is Mirza's emotional response to this great hurt and this great humiliation. Nasim, for the first time, he is using such a short title for his film, Nasim. Earlier, he has used long titles. Nasim, he wants to hit the target through the character, the name of a school-going, very sensitive girl called Nasim, meaning soft breeze. It's Bombay is burning. The country is burning. The country is at war with himself and is trying to cope as best as it can in the given precarious circumstances. This particular family in Bombay, that is where the drama is taking place. There are 3 generations, the young rebels who are not to be controlled, seeing this undeserved demolition, this total unjust, cruel, immoral demolition happening. And then there is the middle-aged householder who is trying to philosophically accept what has happened in the belief that he is helpless, he cannot do anything. And then there is a relationship between an old grandfather and Nasim, his little granddaughter, all together, trying to cope as best as they can in a burning Bombay.
दादाजान,
हाँ जानू।
नसीम का मतलब क्या होता है?
नसीम बेटा सुबह की हवा को कहते हैं।
लड़ो, मरो, कटो। नमस्कार।
हिस्ट्री इतनी बोर क्यों होती है?
इब्तिदाए इश्क है, रोता है क्या? आगे आगे देखिए होता है क्या?
पार्वती भाभी, कैसी हैं आप? अच्छी हूँ। चुटकी कैसी है? बहुत अच्छी है।
आजकल रोज रोज दंगों की खबरें। अब तो खबरों का मतलब ही दंगे हैं।
शहर में इतना टेंशन है, क्या टीचर ने इसलिए छुट्टी दी थी कि जाकर पिक्चर देखें?
पिक्चर देखने गई थी क्या?
अम्मी जोया और रशीदा भी तो।
बस करो मियाँ, रोज रोज वही मनहूस खबर।
पापा, बंटवारे के वक्त आप पाकिस्तान क्यों नहीं चले गए?
आसमान नीला क्यों है?
नीला इसलिए कि मुझे पीला अच्छा नहीं लगा, मैंने नीला पेंट कर दिया।
After Naseem, it seems like a battle-scarred, weary traveler. That is how he looks like to us, to me, Mirza. But also a wise and hopeful interrogator of social and economic superstitions without end. Thank you.